Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. Thank you. Everyone, welcome to the Local Agency Formation Commission meeting of March 19th. At this time, I would like to have Executive Director Officer Knox read a statement regarding in-person video conferencing.
Welcome to the March meeting of Kern LAFCo. I would like to start by recognizing the passing of former LAFCo Commissioner Ann Matthews. Ms. Matthews served on the commission from 1999 to 2014. I don't know much about Mrs. Matthews other than she also served on the Kern County Water Agency Board for close to 30 years, and she remained friends with several of the commissioners after her time here ended. So wanted to recognize that. During tonight's meeting, we'll be considering 2 annexations, move on to some policy issues, and with the permission of the chair, we'll deal with the draft budget towards the end of the agenda instead of where it is now. So we're going to move that down. The numbers in the budget will likely change depending on the commission's decisions on the policy issues, so we'll move that down towards the end. For guests who are in the room, if you're a representative from an agency or hear from the general public and wish to speak on an item before the commission, we ask that you use the microphone at the podium. Allow the chair to recognize you, provide your name, any affiliation, and speak into the microphone. We're recording these proceedings and want to make sure you are heard clearly, both in the room and online. For those attending by video conference, if you are from an agency or the public, your microphone is muted until the chair recognizes you and the host unmutes your microphone. There'll be an opportunity to speak on specific items on the agenda. Please use the raise hand function to be recognized. Mr. Rice, as host, is in charge of the Zoom portion of the meeting. If anyone gets disruptive, Mr. Rice has the authority to remove them from the Zoom meeting. When a commissioner makes a motion, please state your name and your motion. The chair will repeat the person's name and motion. All votes will be roll call votes. And commissioners on Zoom, please make sure you are unmuted when you are voting, so we're recording and need to hear your response. I understand we don't have any commissioners on Zoom tonight, so that's not an issue. With that, please start the video, and we're ready to start the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Knox. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to take roll.
Commissioner Ione, absent. Commissioner Clark, absent. Commissioner Couch.
Here.
Commissioner Endicott.
Here.
Commissioner Flores.
Here.
Commissioner Fowler.
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Here.
Commissioner McKibben.
Here.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Here.
Roll call complete.
Thank you. At this time, we'll do invocation, and I have chosen myself to lead the prayer. And you can stand or remain seated, whatever you prefer. If you would like to join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening. We pray for wisdom for the commissioners as we do the people's business. We pray for patience, pray for safe travel for those that are traveling far and near. And thank you that we serve a God of order, and may we continue that orderly conduct here in locally in Bakersfield and throughout our lives. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
He's alternate for.
Okay. Pledge allegiance, Commissioner Couch.
Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, do we have anyone that's attending via video conference?
No.
Okay, thank you. Brings us to item 5, approval of the minutes from February 19th, 2025. Is there any public comment? Okay, seeing none, any commissioner comments or questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion, Couch.
Second, McKibben.
Okay, please call the vote.
Commissioner Couch.
Yes.
Commissioner Endicott.
Yes.
Commissioner Flores.
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben.
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passed.
Okay, thank you. Under 7, there's no business. Under 8, public hearings. Notice of public hearings moved.
Mr. Chair, public comments?
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay. Sorry. Item 6, public comments. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the commission on any matter not on the agenda and over which the commission has jurisdiction. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record before making your presentation. Madam Clerk, is there anyone under public comments that wants to address the commission?
No.
Okay, thank you. 7, termination proceeding, there's none. Item 8, notice of public hearings. Notice of public hearings moved. Item 8 is, item 8A is 2025-2026 annual preliminary budget. This item will be heard later in the meeting after our MSR policy review. Brings us to item B, 1840 Greenfield County Water District Annexation Number 49. This is a proposed annexation of approximately 10.83 acres consisting of 7 parcels in 4 areas of both residential and unimproved land into Greenfield County Water District. The parcels are generally located along South Union Avenue, south of Arvin Edison Canal to the north of Hoskins Avenue. Area 1, 6.84 acres. Area 2, 2.50 acres. Area 3, 0.97 acres. And Area 4, 0.52 acres. The annexation is for the purpose of providing water service to existing and future infill development. This proposal has 100% landowner consent. The applicant has requested a waiver of notice hearing and protest hearing pursuant to Government Code 56662. All landowners have been notified that if no written protest is received prior to the conclusion of the proceeding, then the commission may waive protest hearing pursuant to GC 56663. Executive Officer Report, Mr. Knox.
Staff has been working with the current management of Greenfield County Water District for some years to clean up issues that occurred under past administrations, whereby water was being provided to properties that were not within the district boundaries. We appreciate the current management's willingness to go about these things in the right way. With these annexations, several properties will be legally within the boundaries of the district. There's no change in taxation. It's consistent with the general plan, regional transportation plan, or specific plan. There's no ag land conversion. It's consistent with commission policies. It conforms to the assessor's parcels. We have an indemnification agreement. There is functional overlap with the city of Bakersfield. Both provide water, but the city acknowledges Greenfield as the water provider for this area. Adequate water supply. The use of the property will continue to be as is, so no additional water is expected to be used. Notice of exemption was adopted by the applicant to handle the CEQA. Affected and overlapping agencies and districts were notified and no comments were provided. Until now, we have not received any opposition to the annexation. As such, it is eligible under Government Code Section 56663 to waive the protest hearing if there are no protests. The process required by the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act has been followed, including notices to affected agencies and any notices and publications required by law. Therefore, it's my recommendation the Commission consider the environmental document. It is further recommended that the Commission approve annexation number 49 to the Greenfield County Water District with the requirement of notice, hearing, and protest hearing be waived and subject to conditions recommended by the Executive Officer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Knox. Is there any public comment on item 8B? Now's the time. Okay, seeing none, any commissioner comments or questions?
Move approval. Couch.
Motion, Commissioner Couch.
Fowler, second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let's call the vote, please.
Commissioner Couch,
Yes.
Commissioner Endicott,
Aye.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben,
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Aye.
All ayes, motion pass.
Thank you. That brings us to item 8C. This is 1829 City of Bakersfield Annexation Number 715, Cotton Road Number 6. This is a proposal to annex approximately 139.39 acres of land consisting of 4 parcels, generally located on Cottonwood and Pacheco Road. The annexation was initiated by the city for the purpose of providing additional land to accommodate the city's 6-cycle vacant sites inventory. The surrounding properties are residential, commercial, industrial, and open ground. This proposal does not have 100% landowner consent. All landowners and registered voters have been notified that if no written protest is received prior to the conclusion of this proceeding, then the commission may waive protest hearing pursuant to Government Code 56663. Executive Officer's Report.
Yes. This proceeding is a continuation of the annexations initiated by the City of Bakersfield to meet state's RENA requirements. And RENA is a Regional Housing Needs Allocation. For those of you who are new to the process, the state has required that local agencies are to plan to build a large number of new housing over the next 30 years, even though the state has no constitutional authority over local land use. But I digress.
Good declaration.
Both the county and city of Bakersfield wanted the same land to show the state that they are going to be in compliance. For several months, there were negotiations between both agencies that failed to come up with a conclusion. During that time, specific annexations were being processed at the request of the city of Bakersfield, with some annexations being terminated. Eventually, there was agreement that left some of the proposed annexations alone. We have already processed those. Other areas were modified, like the annexation you're seeing tonight, and which you can tell from the hole in the middle that the county will continue to claim this area for their arena purposes. Lastly, other proposed areas that were taken off the table and will not come before LAFCo in the near future. Taxation is handled by a master tax agreement between the city and county. Pre-zoning is for single family to very high density dwellings. Is consistent with a general plan, regional transportation plan, or specific plans. There's no ag land conversion. It's consistent with commission policies. It conforms to the assessor parcels, and we have an indemnification agreement. There's no functional overlap. There are no immediate plans to construct housing on the property. The city of Bakersfield is working to complete a groundwater sustainability plan that accounts for any additional water usage future development may occur. Notice of exemption was adopted by the applicant. Affected and overlapping agencies and districts were notified and no comments were provided. The process required by the Cortese Knox Hertzberg has been followed, including notices to affected agencies and any notices and publications required by law. To date, we have not received any opposition to this annexation. As such, it is eligible under Government Code Section 5663 to waive the protest hearing if there are no protests. It is recommended that the Commission consider the notice of exemption filed by the applicant. It is further recommended that the Commission approve annexation 715, Cottonwood number 6 to the City of Bakersfield, waive notice, hearing, and protest hearing, and subject to conditions recommended by the Executive Officer.
Thank you, Mr. Knox. So, okay, final call for protest and none taken. Brings us to public comment for item 8C, if any. You're not seeing none. Commissioner comments or questions? If not, I'll call for a motion.
Motion Couch.
Okay, motion
Second,
Couch.
Endicott.
Please call the vote.
Commissioner Couch,
Yes.
Commissioner Endicott,
Aye.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben,
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passed.
Thank you. Okay, moving along to item number 9, commission items. This is item 9.8, Kern LAFCo Strategic Plan 2025 to 2035 Workshop Facilitator. This is to hold a workshop for the commission on a draft strategic plan. Someone other than the executive officer or a commissioner should lead the exercise. To accomplish this, this is an outside person will need to be hired and a budget set forth for the effort. Staff report, Mr. Knox.
The Commission has discussed creating a strategic plan, and an initial draft has been created. At the February meeting, Commissioner Zaragoza changed his initial recommendation to have the draft strategic plan go to the Policy Committee and instead hold a commissioner workshop on the strategic plan. There appeared to be general agreement among the commissioners that this was a good idea. While it's still a good idea, once I was able to spend some time strategizing about how this workshop would best serve the commission, my conclusion was that the best person to serve as the facilitator of the workshop is not me. I may have to provide education and direction to the commission on any number of issues brought up during the discussion. So if it's not me, then who? We will likely have to pay someone, and was the commission willing to pay to do that? A couple of weeks ago, I sent out an email requesting suggestions, and received only suggestions from Commissioner Zaragoza. All firms he provided seem qualified to lead such a strategic plan workshop, but are from out of town and will likely be very expensive, more than I'm authorized to spend by the commission without your approval. I have a $5,000 limit, and it'd likely be more than that. In doing my own research, I came up with some local options. Sue Watson, owner of Business Initiatives, has been a local business consultant for a number of years. I'm told that she did a good job with the KEDC strategic plan several years ago. Another is Keith Woolridge, who has been part of the business community for years. Keith is a board member of Panama Buena Vista School District and teaches at Bakersfield College and has written books about board leadership. Another direction would be to ask former commissioner and longtime community leader, and he used to be my boss, which was Ray Watson. I have no idea if he'd be interested in this type of project at this time in his life, but he is uniquely qualified to do it. I have not directly contacted any of these options, but would like more input before moving forward. How much this will cost will depend on who is chosen and the scope of the work required. If this is a one-meeting effort or multiple, it's difficult to say without a clear understanding of the scope of the work. So it's my recommendation to provide names of potential facilitators, describe how extensive of an effort this will be, set a budget not to exceed a certain amount, and decide if there is a specific person or if there should be a request for a proposal initiated.
Thank you, Mr. Knox. Is there any public comment before we go to commissioner comments? Seeing none, any commissioner comments?
Yes,
Commissioner Zaragoza.
thank you. I appreciate that, Mr. Blair. Those folks that you mentioned are deeply qualified. Just to give everybody some context, so the LAFCo does have a very specific purpose, and that is spelled out in the Cortez-Knox-Hirschberg Act. However, we need to find out what's going on in the 21st century. A lot has to do with different things that are happening in Kern County, and we need to, I believe, try and put that in a written document so we can all look at it and agree and can be transparent with the public. It's not all consuming because there's a lot of things that you can't put in a document, otherwise it'd be, 1,000 pages long. But we could obviously do something a little bit more brief and very strategic. As you very well know, we're mandated to discourage urban sprawl, preserve open space, prime ag land, and encourage the efficient provision of government services, and encourage the orderly formation and development of local agencies based on local conditions and circumstances. It's that last one that seems to be muddling in my head because that keeps changing. We're going to be looking at the MSR review process, refining that. I mean, a lot of things are going to be happening in the next 3 to 5 years. And I think if we kind of put our heads together and say which direction we want to go, it'll be helpful for existing commissioners and anybody who comes on board in the future. And it'll be great if we could put this document on the website so people know more or less what their commissioners, which represent the people, what they want to do. And basically, the strategic plan would clarify mission and vision, identify key goals or priorities, develop measurable objectives and goals, align staff and resources to support strategic outcomes, and lastly, track performance and adjust over the strategic planning horizon, which typically is a 3 to 5 year process, because after 5 years, things change quite dramatically. That being the case, I'm very much in favor of exploring using a local talent, Sue Watson, Keith Woolridge, or Ray Watson. I would imagine they would be much more affordable than a private consulting firm. Am I correct on that statement?
I would hope so, yes.
And I've been involved with nonprofits. Many of them were startups, and the first thing we did was develop a strategic plan. And most of them use someone local, and it was very affordable. That's my contribution to this discussion, I guess. But obviously, it'll be up to the commissioners to make the final decision.
Thank you, Commissioner Saragosa. If I may, is there any other commissioners, any comments? Yeah, Commissioner McKibben.
Can Vince do it himself, or can we hire Vince to do it? I mean, is that possible? He's a,
I believe there'd be a conflict of
I
interest.
agree. There would be a conflict of interest.
Any other commissioner comments?
Yeah, I have a couple. I think you're going to say, or somebody on the board will say this is a potential conflict, but why not ask somebody from the county or from the city of Bakersfield or from maybe a city who's not represented on the board now, who's done that before probably in their agency or elsewhere?
Do you have a suggestion?
Somebody from the CIO's office or the city manager's office or from any of the city managers' offices, city managers of cities. You've got 11 cities. Somebody from there has probably done this before. Let me ask you a question that'll maybe clarify a little bit. I've gone through what I think you're talking about multiple times, but usually it ends up with a list of goals, but oftentimes it's a vision statement, a mission statement, and some goals and objectives. That's what you're talking about, right?
Correct.
The ones we've done in the past, and Councilmember Gonzalez, when I was there, we did them every couple of years at the city of Bakersfield. We updated it. Staff would make a presentation and say, here's the ones we've accomplished. Here's the ones we recommend you think about adding to the list. And the council would discuss it in public, like we're going to do here, and make a decision. But it was staff driven, because you're the ones that are going to have to live with this document and some of them, what's in it. So I think you're going to have a lot of input into it, even if you're not the one leading it. Why do you not want to lead it? Why do you think you can't lead it? 'Cause
I think there's a bit of a conflict of interest for me. You kind of need it's kind of me versus you in a way of how we go about doing this. Not in a conflict kind of way, whereas it would look like I'm pushing the ship down the channel.
Well, sometimes we expect you to do that, and when you push too far, then we'll tell you you've gone too far. But as long as you're pushing the right direction, you're good.
Okay.
I don't mind if you do it, is what I'm saying, is I think it makes sense for you to lead that discussion if you want to do it. And if you've never done it before and you just feel like you'd rather watch somebody do it, but I think you could handle it. I've seen you handle tougher situations than that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner, are you finished?
I'm done.
Okay, Commissioner Fowler.
I'm wondering what Tom's opinion is on a possible conflict with Blair. Blair would save us a lot of money.
There's no legal conflict of interest. I think what he's talking about is it appeared to him to be a conflict because he might be promoting things that increase his duties, maybe conflict with something you might want him to do. But it's not a legal conflict of it, no financial interest involved there.
Oh,
Question, Chairman?
yeah, Commissioner Couch.
Let's say I don't even know what it would be. Let's say it's something like you described, where it's something that is going to be under a new duty of his, which we might discuss in closed session generally, right? Well, when we're reviewing him, we might say, we'd like you to do this next year.
Yeah, if you're talking about an evaluation type thing, yeah, that'd be in closed
So
session.
we don't want to stray into, what I'm saying is we don't want to venture into that area during this process at all.
I didn't hear that.
We don't want to venture into, in a way, we're giving him goals, which we could do in closed session, but this is a much better way of doing it, I think.
Yeah, I don't think you're in a closed session situation here.
Okay, then I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah, no.
May I say something real quick, and then I'll go to you, Commissioner Saragosa. So, great ideas. I'm open to an internal approach or an external approach through a city or a county if they're willing to help us. I'm also open to, I think there's value in having an external person come in, think outside the box. And I did go through the process with Sue Watson at EDC. And, Richard Chapman, the executive director, he could have done it. But I think there was value of having someone who is trained in that facilitation process, who understands strategic, not that you don't, but it was really specialized. She asked questions. There's a process, and maybe we just cap it at a certain amount, so we don't break the bank. Maybe we frame it, and even Keith Woolridge, he has served on Panama Buena Vista School Board. He's a tenured professor at BC. I don't know his workload, but I think there's some value of having some external thought and comment and process guiding us, and we can give input. You can give input, but it's whatever the consensus of the board is. I'm fine if you do it. I'm fine if we go outside. I just think there's a little bit. I think there's a little bit more value to get a professional. Not that you're not, but a professional in this exercise, which you are not.
Correct.
I concur with Commissioner Flores. The act itself is not complicated because I believe Blair could do it. It is.
Me too.
It is something that I believe would be better facilitated by a third party who is independent of LAFCo and kind of see everything. But they're just facilitating the process. All the input would be coming from staff and the commission because it would be Kern LAFCO strategic plan, not staff's strategic plan. God forbid if Mr. Blair was to leave next year, the plan would stay in place. We would not get a new plan. So it's not his plan, but it's the commission's plan with staff input. And staff has a lot of input because you're right, they'll be doing the heavy lifting. That's my comments.
Right now, it's my plan. I wrote it. And that was kind of the point of having the workshop is it needs to be the commission's plan. That's why I'm thinking an outside person would be better than me doing it. I've been through a strategic planning process before as a participant, not as a facilitator. And that's been 20 years ago. So it's been a while since I've been around that. I could. You're right, I can.
Commissioner Feller?
I'd feel more comfortable if we got a truly outside person to do it, outside local government, not with the county or any of the cities, but, and I don't know Sue Watson. Keith Woolridge is also on the board of the Kern County Museum, and he's a very knowledgeable person.
Thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez, and then we'll go to Commissioner Couch.
I would agree with Commissioner Fowler. I just want to make a comment. The City of Bakersfield actually is working through a session to revisit our own goals that we've established. And it's actually a pretty important process, and we're very intentional about it. And one of the things that I think is the most important is the session work. So, the engaging with each commissioner, being able to provide that feedback one-on-one with whoever is the facilitator of what's going well, what's not going so well, what are some goals that each commissioner really hopes for, and then bringing that in a compiled document and being able to review that together. That really helps us move the conversation along when we're in that particular session. So. But I agree. I think outside consultant makes a lot of sense. That way we get a fresh perspective, someone who can help facilitate without any bias.
Commissioner Couch.
Do you have any idea what Sue Watson charged KDC to do?
I can't remember. It was at least over 7 years ago. But I remember she was polished, professional. She's from New Zealand or England or something. But anyway,
Yes.
She was really, really sharp. And I'm sure she's only gotten sharper. But I don't know. I'd like maybe, this beginning of a motion is maybe go explore if they're even interested, what their costs are, what the timeline is, and and maybe report back to see if it's in our wheelhouse to
Okay.
afford it.
So the original plan was just to do a workshop, and now Commissioner Gonzalez is talking about individual conversations with the facilitator as well. Is that what the commission would like to see as part of the scope of the work?
Well, could we do both? Could we do it at a
want-
one-day workshop?
You want me to price it out for
Yeah, maybe. Well, or I'll defer to Councilman Gonzalez to see what his preference is.
No, I was just suggesting that it's really helpful for the day of the workshop to have that conversation one-on-one. I mean,
Yeah.
Maybe we can do both simultaneously. I don't know.
Would you like me to have whoever price it out to do?
Sure.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we can decide, once we see the price, how extensive this is going to be.
Yeah.
I would make the motion to do that and then maybe generate a scope of services that is in line with whoever you talk to, because if it's Sue Watson, she probably can give you some ideas. She can give you some ideas, whoever you talk to, on the deliverables that they're able to do and for what price.
Right.
And then we would just make a decision based on the budget. Yeah, you're right. So
Okay.
that would be my motion to do that.
Fowler, second, with a question. Are you open to additional names if we think of
Absolutely.
others?
Good comment. Maybe they say no. Maybe we identify someone else. Who knows? But okay. So you have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Couch,
Yep.
Commissioner Endicott,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben.
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passed.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for everyone's input. That brings us to item 10, general business, approval of monthly expense list number 25-01. No staff report. This is just commission comments or questions. Seeing none.
Motion,
Motion.
Fowler.
Motion Fowler.
Second.
Second Couch. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Couch,
Yes.
Commissioner Endicott,
Aye.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben.
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passed.
Okay, thank you. 10B, fee schedule revision draft and executive office report, Mr. Knox.
Yeah. First, there is no vote required on this item tonight. This is the first look at the revised fee schedule. Once we have a draft, all the funding agencies will be noticed, a public hearing will be held, and we will do a part of our next, as we will do as part of our next meeting. We will accept comments and protests before going to a vote of the commission.
Okay, thank you.
I got plenty more.
Oh, go ahead.
A couple reasons for updating the fee schedule now. It's been 5 years since the commission approved a revised fee schedule for the first time in over 2 decades. Since then, we have seen inflationary pressures impact our costs that are reflected in the overall increase in the budget, but not in the fees themselves. Even with the increase imposed 5 years ago, Kern LAFCo was and still is by far the lowest fees of any LAFCo in the state. The rest of our budget is made up of yearly assessment of the county, cities, and special districts, which take the brunt of the additional costs. The reason for keeping the fees low is the stability of the budget. If this commission relied on fees for a significant portion of the budget, it would be very difficult to operate with the wide swings in the number of types of proceedings staff may receive in a fiscal year. This would require a rather large reserve to smooth out the cost from year to year, and that's a concept that has not been popular with the commission in the past. Adding moderately increased fees will take some pressure off the payers of the yearly assessment. This will become an obvious issue when we get to the municipal service reviews and budget discussion later on tonight. The proposal includes a map and legal description review fee for the first time. In the past couple of years, when I say we, I mean Bud, has been reviewing maps and legal descriptions that are increasingly inadequate. In some cases, Mr. Rice is sending the maps and legal descriptions back as many as 6 times before either or both documents are acceptable. The scope of the work, what we're talking about, is in months and weeks, not in hours and minutes. costing considerable time and resources that could be put to better use. While there is a level of ineptitude, the larger culprit appears to be the planned laziness on behalf of the applicants. Since LAFCo does not charge a fee for map and legal description review, the applicant turns in substandard work and relies on LAFCo to fix their issues. It's cheaper for them to use LAFCo to fix their errors than to pay for engineers and provide a quality product. To remedy this problem, the proposal adds a map and legal description review fee. This will be on a cost basis based on current rates by local engineering firms that are interested in reviewing documents for Kern LAFCo if we need to outsource this work. Since there is not a vote on this tonight, now would be a good time to ask questions or make suggestions so that the product we bring back next month is what the commission wants. This is an informational item.
Thank you.
Up on the screen is a side-by-side what our current fees are and what our draft fees are. So just so you have that available to you.
And then, since this is not going to be a voting item yet, are we doing public comment still? Or no?
Sure.
Okay. Is there any public comment? Okay, seeing none, any commissioner comments or questions?
I do.
Commissioner Saragosa.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. Mr. Knox. When you mentioned what Bud is doing, it reminds me when I was working for the county, doing parcel map reviews. For some reason or other, the surveyors or whoever the developer was did not do a very good job on the descriptions, and we had to return them or fix them. It took a long time. I think if you are going to charge them, they'll provide a more quality product. I agree. And I don't know why you get substandard submittals. That's beyond me, but it looks like when I first started many years ago, it's still being done, which I find exhausting, flabbergasted, to tell you the truth. Okay, so I'm 100% behind that suggestion.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fowler.
I'm asking this humorously, what will Bud do with all that extra time?
We have plenty of work for him to do, so that's not a problem.
Thank you. Do you want to proceed to the? Want to proceed to remote work policy?
Okay, we're ready to move on to the next item? Okay. Okay. Remote work policy. During the height of COVID, the governor told us all to go home and work from home. Your LAFCo staff did. Since the COVID emergency orders ended, staff still works away from the office on occasion at the discretion of the executive officer. Yet we do not have a formal policy on the matter. In my mind, there are two types of remote work. The first is more of a temporary remote work situation. Tree trimmers are coming today to address my tree before it falls on my neighbor's house. Can I work from home? Another example would be if an employee was to work remotely for a couple of weeks at a time if they are called out of town, but expect to be back in the office upon their return. Those are temporary situations. The second type of remote work is more structured. This would be the type where a few days would be regularly scheduled for remote work every week or during the month. Staff members might want to work away from the office for a number of days in a week. This would be regularly scheduled and approved by an ongoing agreement between the executive officer and staff. Included in your packet are 3 examples of remote work policy. The first is the most restrictive, and the last is the least restrictive. There are also 2 remote work agreements drafts to choose from. Again, the first is more restrictive, and the second provides more flexibility. It's my recommendation that you choose one of the 3 remote work policies and one of the 2 remote work agreements. And I would go with the least restrictive. gives me more authority that's my suggestion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Knox. Excuse me. Any public comment on item C, remote work policy? Okay, seeing none, any?
You were doing public?
Yeah, public. We're going to go right to commission, so go ahead, Commissioner McKibben.
Yeah, I feel working from remote when you're paying, you either own a building, which we don't own, but we rent a building, and we pay a lot of money for it, and we have space available for our employees, and unless there's some real good reason to go remote, I'm against remote. And I think it can be abused. I'm not saying anybody here would, but I think overall, remote can be abused. So I'm against it for those two reasons. We've got a brick and mortar place, and I just feel more comfortable with people in the brick and mortar. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioner comments or questions of staff? Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yeah, I just want to echo that point in that it seems to me that given all the recent news reports that more and more industry leaders are calling for their employees to work back in the office. And so, the world is moving back into the office space, not towards remote work. And so, I think in this new era of DOGE, there's a lot more scrutiny on all public agencies. I think we ought to take a harder look on what the policy might be.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez. Any other commissioner comments or questions? Commissioner Nicot.
Yes. So I guess I understand the fears of remote work and the abuses that can happen, but I also think that being able to be a little lenient for scenarios like you talked about, or have family emergencies or things like that. Remote work is not meant to be a final destination for someone's employment, but given the boss the opportunity to have that discretion, I think that's an admirable thing to look for, to help with individuals to continue to do their work, right, and whether or not they're coming into the brick or mortar space.
Thank you, Commissioner Nicot. Any other comments? Yeah, Commissioner Fowler.
Blair, you already have some flexibility in this area, do you not?
Because we have no policy, I have a lot of flexibility in this area. But there have been some asks that I have not been exactly comfortable with. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring this to the commission, because I don't want to go beyond the scope of what I should be doing as your executive officer.
Okay, well, my feelings align a little bit more with Commissioner McKibben, because I know of some cases where there have been abuses. And I also fear that the work product from the home office is not necessarily outstanding. And I think it's important for workers in any industry, in any office, to be there. They have a check on one another, and with your oversight, very difficult to have excellent oversight of somebody who's not within your physical realm. So,
when we were going through COVID, we had a lot of Zoom meetings between the three of us, and we got a lot of good work done during that time. What was missing was the time where I could walk into Bud or Patty's office and say, what would happen if we did this instead of this? And spitball something and start a conversation. Those kind of conversations were missed when we were working remotely. So in that way, I do want people to be in the office more than away, but there are times where it makes sense for them or me to be somewhere else and still be able to do my work. 90% of our work is sitting in front of a laptop or a computer, banging out reports and that can be done in a lot of places. So there's that piece as well.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, it can be done in other places, but we're paying for a place to be done. So when we're paying for a place and it's going somewhere else, that doesn't make sense.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner McKibben. Any other comments? Okay.
Can I just ask?
Yeah, sure.
So you mentioned that there was a request. I'm just trying to understand what the rationale was behind the request. You don't have to point to anybody in particular,
No,
but,
no, I can
but
speak to
just,
that. So I'm the one that made the request, and the reason being is because I do have, my wife has a physical condition. We are empty nesters. I am her caretaker at times when she has little bouts. So there is times that I need to be at home. Sometimes this is at the house. Sometimes it's away from the house because I have to get her out of the valley when she has some of these episodes. So this was on me. It's for a health issue. It's a little bit different than just working remotely. I could say that. I've had no problem working remotely before. I've met my deadlines. I've got everything done. I just wanted to make sure everything was above board and everyone knew exactly what was going on. So.
Thank you.
thank you.
And then I had a question for staff, to the extent that you might know offhand. Since we're not in COVID anymore, and it did serve a function back in the day when we were all, heightened alert, we got through it, we're no longer in COVID. What's the necessity for that now? How many times have you been, in a given year, how many times have we done remote work?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay, how many times have people asked to work remotely in a given year? Now that we're no longer in a pandemic, how many times are staff working from home? Post-COVID.
It's been rare for Patty,
Yeah.
maybe a half dozen times. She just took care of a sick niece of hers.
Okay.
And so she did some work from home while she was taking care of her sick niece before her niece's dad got there.
Sure.
And Bud has had more, significantly more.
Okay.
He's also, I don't worry about Bud because I know he's got the TV on at 9 o'clock at night with his laptop sitting in his lap and he's working on maps and legal descriptions. He puts in a lot more than the 8 hours. So I don't worry about these two. Mm-hmm. But when we start talking about him taking his wife out of the valley for a week or two at a time, that's a bigger issue than I feel comfortable approving without going to the commission and having this discussion.
Got it. Okay. So we're not approving a specific request. We're approving a policy.
Correct.
Okay. I guess I'm going to weigh in a little bit too in my thoughts. I think the LAFCo is best served on site as well, like my colleagues. We have vacation days, we have sick days to take care of family issues. Now, if there's a highly special circumstance, a one-off that we need someone to work remotely, I would totally entertain that. But I want to avoid it making it a pattern, because I think we're best served by on-site work. So that's just where I'm coming from.
Yep.
To not give in to the patterns, but if there's something truly unique, a one-off, then I would entertain that. More exception rather than rule.
Correct.
Can I suggest something? Sure.
Sure.
Thank you, Bud, for telling us that, but, because I was not aware of that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry you have to deal with that. Why don't we kick this to the ad and bin committee or whomever? Because it sounds like this needs a little bit more detailed discussion. And you're not in a hurry to get us to adopt something this evening. It doesn't matter if we do that tonight. We could do it later.
Yeah,
But
like other items affected by budget, this one doesn't.
this one, okay. So, I mean, I think there's some sensitivity to this that ought to be given a little bit more consideration and a little bit more thought and time
Okay.
in maybe a different setting.
So did you
So
want
I'm
to?
going to refer, we
Which
have the
committee?
administrative,
It's policy
Policy
committee.
committee.
Policy committee, okay, I'm fine with that. So is that a motion?
that's the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion to refer to policy committee. Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner
We
Zaragoza.
have a motion, a second. Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Couch,
Yeah.
Commissioner Endicott,
Aye.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben.
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passed.
Okay, thank you.
You can refer real quick.
Yeah, sure. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yeah, thank you. I'm wondering if staff in the future, when we consider these policies and when there's multiple policy options, if within the staff analysis, we can just have a high-level review of what the options are and how they differ. I think that would be really helpful in future consideration of action items.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Good suggestion, thank you. That brings us to item D, interest on income. Mr. Knox.
Yes. There are 3 accounts that are utilized for the commission's finances. An account with the county in which our yearly assessment is held and withdrawn on a monthly basis to cover the commission's costs. This account is pooled and invested in short-term financial vehicles by the county and provides interest or a return on the funds left in the account. Second, we have the Wells Fargo checking operating account. This is what we pay bills out of. As a checking account, it receives no interest. We have a third account, which is another Wells Fargo account, which handles our reserve. As you might expect, this holds our 10% reserve and any accrued sick and vacation by staff. It is rarely touched and again provides no interest. When I first came to LAFCo, I asked the former executive officer why we had money sitting in a non-interest bearing account. I was told that LAFCo is prohibited from investing in the private market, which apparently includes a savings account at a bank. It struck me as odd, but I left it alone. Lately, I have looked for the code section that indicates this prohibition, but I have yet to find it. It doesn't mean it's not there, but I may be looking in the wrong place. I had also dismissed the idea of keeping the commission's reserve within the county because of an incident where the yearly assessment was administered by the county assessor's office. They misunderstood the reserve funds at the bottom of the approved budget as needing to be included in the yearly assessment, and so everyone was overcharged. Some of you were here for that. And we went through a whole process and ended up, the assessor's office returned the excess money back to each of the individual payers into the yearly assessment. Once I found the mistake, I informed the commission the decision made to return the funds. By keeping a totally separate account with specific instructions and better oversight, I don't anticipate that problem happening again. The only issue I can anticipate is that there was once a problem transferring funds from the county account to the Wells Fargo operating account to cover monthly expenses. After informing the chair of the issue, funds were transferred from the reserve account to the operating account, so we were not subject to overdraft fees. Once the issue with the transfer with the county was fixed, and the transfer was made and funds were put back into the reserve account in the same amount in which they were taken out, before they were taken out. And the commission was informed at the next commission meeting. I will resolve this problem by not allowing the balance of the operating account to get so low that we can't pay the next month's bills, which I've been doing for several years anyway. So it's my recommendation that we close the Wells Fargo checking reserve account and transfer the funds to a separate county account, where we can get some additional revenues off of that money. It's not huge, but it's better than nothing.
Exactly. Thank you, Mr. Knox. Any public comment on interest on income? Okay, seeing none. Any commissioner comment or questions? Commissioner Fowler.
I wonder if you might communicate with other LAFCos and find out if they're aware of such a policy as that you were told by Turpin.
Rebecca.
Rebecca?
Yes.
Okay. Because if you're still obliged to follow whatever rule it is and wherever it's hidden, then you wouldn't be able to make that change. But I'm all for earning 4% rather than nothing.
So we actually earn some return on the money that is left in there during the year. So we are already earning some. This would just be earning a little bit more. And the county is not a private investor.
What is the balance in that account, roughly?
We'll get to that when we get to the budget. I think it's about $150,000 off the top of my head.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Fowler. Any further commissioner comments?
Currently, it's $168,730.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any motion on the item?
Yes, please.
Endicott, motion.
Thank you.
Second, Couch.
Okay, motion second, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Couch,
Yes.
Commissioner Endicott,
Aye.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben,
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passed.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to policy MSR sphere review. Mr. Knox.
The Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg requires LAFCOs to perform municipal service reviews and then update those reviews every 5 years. And I've got code sections here that speak to that, but I'm going to move forward through those. Municipal service reviews are required and need to be completed on a regular basis. There is not a definition of municipal service in state law. There are several references for different types of services. The most common are potable water, fire, and sewer. This is a good place to start if we would include all cities, community service districts, water and sewer districts. It would be about 30 districts that we would, and cities that we would begin with, which means starting with about 6 a year if we started down that process. And so we wouldn't try to do all 30 in year one. We would take 6 and 6 and 6 and 6 for the first 5 years. And then at the end of 5 years, those that were done in 5 years, we do an update of those, which will take considerably less time and effort at that point. And at that point, if the commission chooses to expand what is municipal service, that would be a good time to do it. We could add additional services and do additional municipal service review. So this leaves several options. One is for the development of the MSR, and one option would be to notify each agency of the process, give the agencies a year to produce an MSR for the commission. If the agency does not complete the MSR, LAFCo will begin the process and have one created. Second option would be to notify each agency of the process, hire a consulting firm or additional staff to complete the MSRs. And we have options of who would do the MSR. One would be the staff being evaluated. 2, contract with an outside engineering or consulting firm that does this type of work. Or increase the staff at LAFCo by 1 additional full-time staff. And of course, the question is, how would you pay for this? And the options are the agency in question would directly pay with a fee based on an hourly rate. 2, the agency would pay through a charge on the yearly assessment. That's a little more controversial. Mr. Schroeder and I went round and round on this option, whether a charge like this could be included on the yearly assessment for payment. I will let Mr. Schroeder speak for himself, but I believe the final answer was that there does not appear to be anything in state law that would preclude placing a charge in the yearly assessment. I haven't had a specific conversation with the assessor's staff about this option, so if there's an agreement to pursue this further, I'd have some work to do convincing the assessor that this is a good option. Third option would be LAFCo to pay for the increase and budget it to cover the costs. My recommendation has changed over time. The idea of hiring consultants was my first preference, but as I think about this more, I have come to the conclusion that if we are going to embark on performing multiple municipal services reviews a year, it would be better to do so in-house. I believe it would cost less to hire an additional staff member, and I would have better control of the process. The problem with having an agency do their own MSRs is that it represents itself more like a Chamber of Commerce view of the agency and doesn't really talk about the weaknesses of the agency. It's everything is great, we're doing wonderful, and that's not really what this municipal service review is about. It should be a more objective look at what an agency and their strengths and weaknesses. I like the idea of charging each agency for the MSR created on their behalf. This way, the costs are directly related to the specific agency's complexity and ability to provide sound data information. An MSR for the city of Bakersfield is going to be much more complex than one for South Kern Cemetery District. It's just different services, different size, and it's a different beast. It would also mean that those that are not in a group of these agencies that fit the definition of a municipal service review do not have to pay. The question is whether this is making it more complex and necessary, and whether the county assessor would agree to placing additional costs on the yearly assessment. So I'm not completely satisfied with my recommendation, which is, my recommendation is to approve definition of municipal to include potable water, sewer, and fire, hire additional staff to develop and complete the MSR, charge the agency for the actual cost of the municipal service reviews. If the agency does not pay, consider placing the amount of the agency's annual assessment for the next fiscal year.
Thank you. And just to clarify, so that's the only one recommendation. You discussed all the options, but that's the one recommendation you're bringing forward.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, are you finished?
Yes. If I was confident that they would pay for it, I would go that direction, but I'm not confident of that.
Okay, any public comment on this item before we move to commissioner comments? Okay, commissioner comments or questions?
I do have one.
Commissioner Serioso.
Thank you, Mr. Knox. For maybe the commissioners as well as myself, on the MSR, especially fire and water, how many entities are out of compliance? And not only out of compliance, but like 10 years, 15 years? I mean, give us some estimate, and I won't hold you to it, but just to kind of give us some context.
So what has happened is, when the only time we've done an MSR since 2006 is when there's been a modification of the sphere of influence. That's the only time we've really had a stick to force an MSR to be completed. So whenever that's happened, we probably have 10 MSRs that are in current, is that about right? That are currently viable?
Yeah, but only about 5 of them are actual cities. The other ones are like water storage districts. Because they provided an MSR when they were changing their sphere, but we don't have a definition of a municipal service, so they went ahead and did one. So we have several water storage districts, irrigation district, no CSDs, and we have 5 cities. 3 of them will be out of compliance within a year.
What is interesting, like I said, we live in interesting times. Sustainability is a big issue as we, believe it or not, have changes in our climate. But when it comes to fire and water, obviously, that's important for emergency services and fire prevention. And as I recall, one of the council members at the city asked for a fire master plan from the fire chief. I could be wrong on that. That being the case, the city then is going to be updating their fire planning services if they do the master plan. And I think every entity that is out of compliance for the MSR should be doing the same. So no, I agree 100% with your recommendation, because it's good not only for the entity, but it's good for just sustainability and for emergency services and planning. As far as sewer, I don't know. It's still legal to have septic tanks, correct? Or is everything going to a closed sewer system in the future? Any thoughts on that?
You're
it's a big
asking,
que-
you're asking me,
I know we have a
local
civil
juris-
engineer in here, maybe they can respond to it. No, okay, just curious.
I don't know the answer to
Okay,
that question.
all right, but definitely
I
fire,
think I know, but I don't know.
fire and water, definitely, okay.
Yeah.
That was my 2 cents worth.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Couch.
What's the penalty for a city, a district, or whomever that does not keep their MSR, doesn't submit an MSR on time or update it adequately?
We have no stick whatsoever to get them to do it.
Right. So so if I understand it, you want to hire someone full-time to do the MSRs for all the cities and all the special districts that don't turn it in, haven't turned it in yet, and just tack on, when we send them the bill for their membership to LAFCo, you're going to add on the cost of that MSR.
That's correct.
Have you attended like there's a city managers meeting, there's a what's the League of Cities, the Kern County League of the chapter, I forgot what they call that. Have you attended those meetings, laid out, special districts also have one, laid out the need for the MSRs and told them about, I think you've done that, but have you told them that this is your new plan?
I have not.
Okay, I think we got to do that first. I feel like we're lobbing a grenade, and we ought to tell them that the grenade is coming before we do this.
At the same time, we have grenades falling around us. We have an Inyo Kern CSD that's failing as a district.
I completely understand, and I completely agree, and I'm working on one of them with you. But, short answer is I'm not ready to make this step that you're recommending right now without making sure that they're aware that it's coming. I think we ought to take that step first.
Okay, so maybe we don't need their permission, but we, as a courtesy,
It's at least as a courtesy.
should brief them.
Okay.
And that might get some of them off the dime. And I think at the same time, I need to know this. What is it gonna cost? Pick any of them. Pick 3 of 4 of them out of the blue and give me an estimate on what their annual membership dues are, or what do we call that? Is that what you call it?
It's the yearly assessment. Yes.
Their annual assessment, and what their MSR is gonna cost if it is done in-house at LAFCo and we bill them. I don't know.
I don't know how to do that because there's such a variety, and we don't know when we start the process how deep we're going to get into with some of these districts and cities.
And then let me follow up my first question, which is if there's no penalty or something, there's no hammer to the districts or the cities from LAFCo, or from the state.
Correct.
Nobody's going to penalize them. Do they penalize LAFCO if those aren't done? Does anybody penalize us?
I think the penalty is poor service.
I understand that, but the poor
Yes.
service, as far as I know, the poor service would come from us by us simply saying, we can't process your annexation because you haven't updated your MSR. We can't do your sphere of influence because you haven't updated your MSR. Is that?
Correct.
Well, that's not on us. That's not on your staff. That's on them. That's my opinion.
To follow up on his question, which I think is very intuitive, very straightforward, is if they don't update the mandated MSR for their entity, and we have no stick, LAFCo, not me, LAFCo, can LAFCo be sued by a jurisdiction resident because it wasn't done? And I mean, the commissioners or staff, can they be sued because they didn't do what CKH has requested that we do? Of course, our fallback is that we have no stick. Or they could say, you didn't develop the policy to create the stick, therefore we're going to sue you too. I'm just curious how that works.
You used the magic word, which means I turn this to Tom. You made it a legal question.
Short answer is yes, you can sue, but would you want to? That's the real question. And what's the cost gonna be? Yep. And then you gotta enforce the judgment. If they don't have the money to pay, you're not paying, it's wasted money.
No, if they sue us, the commission for not developing the policy, to create the big stick,
Who's gonna sue you?
a resident of that entity, whether it's a special district.
Well, they have to sue the entity, they can't sue you.
Well, can they sue the entity plus tack on LAFCo?
You can try, they could try, sure.
That's the question. Nowadays, they tack on as many people as they can.
Anybody can be named in a suit.
Okay.
That's true.
All right,
That part's true.
okay. Thanks for that response.
I also want to kind of point out that in doing these MSRs, I'm not only looking for the bad actors, I'm looking for the good actors. Because if there's a district that is too small and doesn't have the resources, I need a partner for them to possibly consolidate. You've heard me say this before. We have 180 agencies that we oversee. That's a ridiculously high number of agencies. We should have fewer. And if we can find ways to very much identify, which is what this commission asked me to do when I had this conversation with you a couple months ago, I've identified specific instances instead of a general policy. Bring us something that you think really needs to be addressed. And the MSR helps me do that. So that's part of it. I understand we can just make it part of the budget.
Here's what
And-
I'm afraid of. You're gonna have somebody, a little district that gets assessed annually a fairly small fee, and they don't have any activity, they're not really gonna annex anything. But what's the smallest assessment you've got? $100, $200?
It's less than that.
Okay, but we're gonna send them their annual assessment for $50 plus $500 or $1,000. It just seems like this cost of this thing that we're gonna bill them for is gonna dwarf in some cases, it's gonna dwarf their annual assessment.
Yes, it will.
Mr. Knox, you mentioned, what did you mean by saying we'll just put it in the budget?
One of the options would be that we just budget it as part of our actual budget for that additional staff member, which is actually option that number 5 that we'll look at in the budget. And we will just include in the budget. We won't charge them individually for the MSR that we do. Yeah. Everyone will pay for it.
Got it. Well, I think they should pay for it, not everyone. But it's a question for us. But I think I want to get to where you need to go for LAFCo and for them. There's a mutual benefit here. But before we do that, I like Commissioner Couch's idea is just to give them that courtesy, not asking for approval for them. The approval will come from us. But in order to get where we need to go, as one more step, sorry for the steps, but if we can just give them that courtesy and then come back and we can say yea or nay to the permission.
Yeah.
I'll say yes now, but I want to do the steps to get to a solid yes.
I have had some conversations with Kern County Special Districts Association, but there was probably 15 special districts in the room. And Les Clark is actually the chair of that. So unfortunately, he's not here. So the conversation has been had, but just not as the wider group that clearly you're looking for.
Can I ask another?
Yeah.
Could you give us you could probably do this right now, but could you give us a report at the next meeting? It could be on a consent agenda or whatever if you want to. I just want to be able to see it. A list of all the agencies that are members and who's got an up-to-date MSR and who doesn't. You have that, I'm sure.
Yes.
And when I say up-to-date, you may say, well, they filed one, but it's not adequate. So you may have to have different categories of, yes, completed, but not good enough.
Not accepted yet.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Thank you, Commissioner.
Right, I wanted to follow up. I think I'm sympathetic and agree with Commissioner Couch on that statement. And if you could also say in that list, how long they've been out of date. Is it 5 years, 10 years, 15 years.
Good point.
And then regarding, sympathetic to the small district getting a bill saying, oh, you owe 4,000 or 5,000 or whatever number that is. And I assume there's more than one small district or two in Kern County that fall under that umbrella. I would try and look at maybe doing a carve-out for those small districts to be maybe looked at differently via technical assistance grants, which would mean LAFCo would apply to either the state OPR or KernCog, because those grants allow you to do regional planning services. And then you could include an MSR update. Whether or not you get the full amount, don't know, but it would offset some of the cost, and that's just a thought to explore. That's it.
One, I would need a grant writer to do that. And two, we're not a planning agency, so I'm not even sure we're qualified. We are?
It's a special district.
Okay. We've never tried that before. And one of my questions is, if you're so small that you can't afford it, should you be a district?
Yeah, that's a question.
Yeah. And we do have a process where they can come and ask for fees to be reduced or eliminated. So that is always an option for the commission to do if there's a situation where that needs to happen. But then again, that's just going to be passed on to the other.
Sure. Yeah, I think people should pay their fair share, share responsibility. How have we historically done it? How have we historically done these transactions? Have they paid?
We required them to do them themselves.
Oh.
And so they paid the engineering firm or their in-house staff to do those. But like I said, what we got was everything's great, everything's wonderful. and
Everything's not wonderful, and I'm not interested in subsidizing delay. So I think they need to pay shared responsibility and, go through the steps that this board will direct you on. We haven't done that yet, but I think we're going in that direction. I'd like you to give them a courtesy, but the courtesy ends at subsidizing. I'm not interested in subsidizing. It's like pay to play.
I got one other comment, or question rather. I think you've done this in the past, but remind me, have you sent out questionnaires to them that if they just answered the questionnaire, that would satisfy completion of an MSR submittal application?
We do have an SOI questionnaire that we send out every 5 years.
It's an SOI,
Yes.
but not an
It
MSR.
does not answer all the questions of a municipal service review is required to do.
I understand they can't all be yes or no questions. They're gonna have to ask some questions that say, describe this, or, right?
And
They're gonna need to give you some sort of narrative.
Yes. We sent those out, sent multiple reminders to come back. We had our bulldog, Rebecca Moore, make phone calls to them.
On
and
the
we still-
SOIs?
On the SOI reviews, which is like a 2 or 3 page questionnaire. It's not very long.
It's 3 pages, but 2 of the pages have nothing to do unless you have water or sewer. 4 pages, sorry, but 3 of them are just water and sewer if you provide that service. I can tell you that when it comes to the municipal service reviews, they are different than a sphere of influence 5-year questionnaire. The actual questionnaire covers simple things like what services do you provide? What's the population of your demographic? And do you have any plans that you would like to submit? Other than that, then you're turning in something. Do you plan on expanding your sphere of influence in the next 5 years? Do you, what is your capacity for your sewer? What is your water resource? That's it. The problem with that is CKH demands that we look at fire, water, and sewer. What it doesn't do is it says, and any other service that you look at as a municipal service. we need to find out what that other service would be. Is that health? Is that street lights? I mean, whatever. What is a municipal service? Because then we could turn around and give you better directions or better information on what the cost is going to be and how long it's going to take. So figuring out what we want to look at is going to be a major thing, because some districts will never be affected by this. A cemetery district, a recreation and park district, unless they provide services that fall within what we say is a municipal service. Most cities will. Again, Commissioner Couch, what you're talking about on the 5-year doesn't give us enough information other than this agency is providing a service. It doesn't ask about audits. It doesn't ask about anything like that. A municipal service does more of an in-depth look and tells us exactly what it is.
But do we have a questionnaire? Do we have a template we can send them for an MSR? That they could,
we have
if they
some-
had an audit, they attach it, or if they could attach the report, or if they could attach things that they had that would satisfy
Well, and
at
that's
least
what
some
I'm
of-
saying.
At least some
Yeah.
of what it is. what
Yeah,
you need.
so we have a template for a city because they provide multiple
Right.
services. We don't have a template for CSD that only provides water. We have some CSDs that provide road, water, snow removal, drainage, all these things. That's what I'm talking about there's a multitude of services, and we don't have a template that covers all of them.
When we do have a city or district that is going to do an MSR, we typically send them other MSRs we did recently that are similar to them, as an example. So they do get an example of what that's supposed to look like.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioner comments? Commissioner Fowler?
How do you choose the 6 lucky ones who begin the process?
That's a very good question. I thought about cities first, but I'm also thinking about some of the districts that are having troubles. And for instance, Kern CSD. If I'm going to do them, I should probably also do Indian Wells Valley Water District, who's most likely partner for them. And that MSR can educate us on whether they have the resources available to take on Indian Kern CSD and what a merger like that would, or consolidation like that would look like. So that's kind of my mindset behind it. We might even add the city of Ridgecrest. You have a greater water problem in the Indian Wells Valley that has to be resolved, that isn't going to be resolved by just merging Indian Kern CSD with the water district. I'm seeing nods over there. So, yeah. So that is one of the things I'm looking at. I would probably start with some of the cities as well first. So get your feet wet on the most difficult ones.
Okay, I think we're outdone with commissioner comment, I think. So I like your recommendation. So maybe, let me make a motion if we could, in the spirit of recommendation, pursue that, but first, as a courtesy, meet with these districts first. I'm sorry, I thought you were looking at something. That's the most, then come back for approval. That'd be my motion.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Commissioner Endicott.
You had said that there might be something in 8A that we'll have to come back to that is focused on this. So if we vote in one way, will that affect what will then happen in 8A?
Correct.
Okay. That was just
If
my
you agree that we need to hire a new staff member, I have a whole different budget
check. Okay.
for that versus if we continue with the same staffing level.
Okay.
You need a motion on that, or you made a motion?
Yeah, I made a motion. Just for a second.
Okay, so if we I'll second, we'll vote. If it passes, that means we're not going to be able to adopt well, you're just giving us a report on the preliminary budget because you won't know at this point whether you have a second or a third staff member needed or not.
You can approve this tonight with the condition that I meet with city managers and,
I'm not convinced that we even need to do it yet. I know you think we need to do it, and the law says we need to do it, but there's the state, I think, put this law in place without any teeth for a reason. And that's that they hope we do it, and they hope the districts do it, but if they don't, I don't know what the harm is to anyone. If there's never another MSR done before anybody does a sphere of influence increase or an annexation, who's damaged, who's harmed? I don't know if anyone is.
I would say that the constituents within those districts are harmed.
In what way?
They don't have a clear view of, or we don't as an oversight agency, of whether they're capable of providing the services they were created to provide.
But we don't have that function. I don't think we have that function unless they're asking to increase their boundaries and provide services to a new area or increase their services to the same area, right? We aren't going to rush into a district and say, you aren't able to provide the services that you say you are, we're going to shut you down. We can't do that.
Yep, we can.
We can just shut down a district.
We can reorganize them. We have the authority to do that.
How many would you like to shut down?
That's a trick question.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, how many?
Oh,
Who's going to take over that service if we shut down this said district?
Well, that's why I said we'd have to reorganize with another district.
And
Which
that district
was-
has to want to do it?
No.
Can't make them take it.
No, but there will be a vote of the population.
When will that happen?
If LAFCO
So this is
initiates,
grenade number 2 we're going to lob.
maybe.
Okay.
If LAFCO, and I'm telling you what we're authorized to do, not what we're going to do. I'm telling you what we're authorized to do. If we initiate as a commission a reorganization of 2 or 3 districts, we've done it in the past.
Okay, well, I've been here a long time. When was this?
Kern Sanitation Authority was 3 or 4 different individual special districts that provide sewer service in Metro Bakersfield, unincorporated Metro Bakersfield. We consolidated those into KSA and made it one district, and in that case, made it a dependent district of the county.
When was that?
Oh, it's been 30 years ago or more.
Okay, all right.
You asked if it could be
That
done.
predates me.
It can be done. Yes, it does.
Probably started
So,
60 years ago.
If we, yeah. LAFCO's not that old yet. Pretty close. If we initiate, there's a whole process you go through to notify the public. There actually would be a vote of the public after approval by the commission, kind of like a protest
It's the
hearing.
process that we're considering with the one that you and I have been working on.
Correct. Yes.
Well, one by one is how I think we need to wade our way into that. That one we can probably move forward with because we can't even get a hold of anyone.
Well, they don't have,
That kind of makes sense, but
yes.
how many are like that?
Well, of the ones we sent the sphere of influence questionnaire to, a dozen of them did not return, even after multiple phone calls and multiple begging by us, couldn't be bothered to return the questionnaire. Those are districts that are operating roguely and outside the law. I know they are.
I don't know what that means. What do you mean by outside the law?
They're required by law to fill those out and return them to us. any information we ask of a special district or city, they're required to give it to us. I can ask them anything. It's weird.
And when they don't, what's the penalty?
I would have to take them to court to force them to do it, kind of like you would with a public records request.
You would send Rebecca first.
I would. That would scare them. It's not a comfortable position for me to be sitting here asking for this.
No, I get it. It's certainly not. Each of these is going to be an individual circumstance with the individual city or district or whomever, and we don't know what their circumstances are, or how hard they're trying, or if they're just blowing it off. And so I'm not in favor of treating it all like just painting them all with the same brush, because I'm sure they're not all the same.
Correct.
But we're kind of adopting a policy that's pretty broad. Basically says, if you don't do this, we're gonna do it and we're gonna bill you. No matter how much you've been trying or what your circumstances are. I think we need to use a softer, gentler approach than that myself.
Well, I'm going to go to Commissioner Fowler when you're done.
I'm done.
But if we adopt this, can we prioritize, go engage those that really need the help and rather than a big blanket approach?
So one thing I could do is,
who are our priority districts that really need this?
yes, I can bring you a list of the districts that might be eligible to be the first round and have the commission pick who the first 6 are.
Yeah. It should be, let's triage it. Let's go get the real people that need it. And
Right.
not unnecessarily bother those that don't. Commissioner Fowler.
I just want to understand better what the state's directive to us was. Was Cortese Knox Hertzberg amended? Or is this just a general recommendation? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Government Code Section 56-425G. On and before January 1st, 2008, and every 5 years thereafter, the commission shall, as necessary, review and update each sphere of influence. In determining a sphere of influence, the commission may assess the feasibility of government reorganization of particular agencies and recommended reorganization of those agencies when the reorganization is found to be feasible and if reorganization will further the goals of orderly development and efficient and affordable service delivery. The commission shall make all reasonable efforts to ensure wide public dissemination of the recommendations, to your point about getting everyone noticed. 53-430A, in order to prepare and update a sphere of influence in accordance with Section 56-425, the commission shall conduct a service review of the municipal services provided in the county or other appropriate areas designated by the commission. To me, that says we're supposed to do it.
Sure. No, okay, no, we gotta do what we gotta do.
I'm gonna be legal here for a second. It says we're supposed to review those every 5 years, right?
Yes. But we need a
They gotta submit them.
we need a first one first.
Correct. I mean, to me, it says we can't wait. If they submit it, we can't just sit around. We shall review that, but they have to submit it first. It doesn't say we have to go get it from them or we have to force them into doing it. Coerce them somehow. I'm using very strong language, which per effect, but that's not, you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
It doesn't say that we have to go get them to do it. It says we shall review them. But they have to submit it. It doesn't say that in there, but
It does not.
I'm inferring that.
That's a legal question that.
It's an intractable issue. There's very little muscle, other than you just don't grant their SOI if that's what they're asking. But you got a lot of districts that don't increase their sphere of influence. They don't ask for annexations. But we're still going to require them to have an MSR. I think there needs to be some legislation done on that.
I admire legal counsel that gives me a short answer.
So, yeah, it's actually refreshing. Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, sure. No, this is good discussion. Thank you. So my motion was to move forward with staff's recommendation, but short of implementation without the courtesy discussion that the Commissioner Couch wants with the districts, so they're not blindsided, come back to us for final approval, and then within that, prioritize those that really need the help rather than a big blanket approach, which I think you're doing.
Well, the initial approval would be conditional then. It would be a conditional approval,
Okay.
because you may change your mind when he comes back.
So I'm going to withdraw my second, because here's what I thought you said first of all was you were moving to have, recommending Blair go meet with
Correct.
all those, not each and every one, but maybe pick the city
Notification.
managers meetings or the ways that he
yes.
can communicate with several at once,
Yes,
and bring back a report
yes,
about how it went with them and
yes.
did they throw him out of the room? Were they apologetic and we're going to get on board? Just how it went before we before we give him the go-ahead.
Correct.
Okay, your motion I thought was in favor of moving ahead,
Well,
but doing that first. I'm in favor of doing that first, and then we think about doing.
However,
going ahead.
you just articulated the route. That's what I mean.
Okay,
what
so
you
we're really not giving him authority on his recommendation. We're asking him to do this first and bring back
Correct.
a report, and then we'll consider his
Correct.
recommendation.
But in my mind, that's, yeah, so
I'll
it's,
second that.
yeah, it's moving, so just how you stated
Okay.
it, that's what I mean. But but in the spirit, we are moving forward toward that eventual end, but that eventual end has to come back for approval.
Yep. So
I think I'll second that, yes.
Got it. That's what you said,
Okay.
Yeah.
for that conversation with the cities and special districts, I can probably find a way to get into the city managers meeting to have that conversation. Special districts, what I'll probably likely have to do is send out a notice to all of them, tell them what we are considering, and invite them probably to a meeting to meet about this subject.
Don't they ever get together, the special districts?
Yes, we get together twice a year, usually in April and October.
There you go, April.
But we have been lately not, we had one just recently, but we didn't have one in October. And that's been for about a couple of years now. We're not, but leadership is changing a little bit. We had a leader for a long time that Tim Reese out at
East Niles.
East Niles. So our next meeting would be in December, or I'm sorry, October. And my district manager, Pat Osley, is now going to be the president of the special districts. But yeah,
I don't want to wait that long.
yeah.
So it'd be better
And
to.
one thing I
invite
would
them.
like to add too is that with the Lamont Special District, or the Lamont Community Service District, would you put them to the last, to the last one to
stormwater?
contact?
No, I will not. I will
The
treat,
reason
I will
I'm
treat,
saying that
I will treat them all
there's
equally.
sort of a, between him and I, when we were at that meeting, the general manager of the community, or of Lamont Community Service District.
Public Utilities District, yes.
And got upset and walked out. So that's what I was telling Sam. I would leave him to last. So I would, maybe he should be first.
You know Scott.
You don't want to deal with him first.
He was given an award by Cal PERS. Did you know that?
No.
He's
Okay.
accomplished a lot.
What did you say?
He was recently given I'd say like recently, it was a year or so ago, given an award from Cal PERS. They recognize some local, people that worked in local government.
Yeah.
And he was recognized for all of the work, outstanding work that he has done for that district.
And I understand he's a lawyer, not a engineer.
Right.
To me, it's a odd fit.
Mr. Chairman, I call the question.
All right, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Call the vote, please. Thank you.
Commissioner Couch,
Yes.
Commissioner Endicott,
Aye.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben,
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passed.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to item 8, back to 8, notice of public hearings, 2025-2026 annual preliminary budget. Mr. Knox.
I gotta find out where I am.
Right before general business.
Yes, thank you, Chair Flores. I have notes of what I'm going to say, but there are obviously going to be some changes here as direction you just provided me. I've included 2 columns in the budget, and if Mr. Rice can put that up on the screen again. 2 columns. Proposal 1 estimates the cost if we continue with the 3.5 employees. Proposal 2 estimates the cost if we were to add additional full-time to our staff. Let me start with where revenues come from. We will then move to where expenses go, and we'll transition to where our reserves that likely will go down this year despite an increase in the budget. Revenues come from 2 sources: fees, which we've just talked about, and the yearly assessment, which we just talked about. LAFCo fees will be brought back next month for consideration, and the yearly assessment is paid a third by the county, a third by the cities, and a third by special districts. The yearly assessment formula is approved budget expenses for 2025 and 26, minus any estimated fees and carryover of unused funds from 2024-2025 fiscal year. Revenues are pretty simple. The expenses are a little more challenging. Over 2/3 of our costs are associated with employees. Let's start with those costs first. Salaries are within the typical 4% range for salary increases, which is kind of a COLA for us. Unfunded liability are holding steady after a few years of large increases. This is due to the 2-year delay of the actuarials. That means we are dealing with the 2023 CalPERS investment financials from the start of the recovery from when COVID pandemic as predicted last year. So the numbers you're finally seeing are us coming out of COVID 2 years ago, not where they stand today. We're always 2 years behind. State retirement is about the same. Employee group insurance is a significant increase this year. Service and supply side, there's a 20% increase in general liability insurance. We've seen that kind of across the board with insurance and expect more of that to come after the fires we've had. The insurance everywhere is going to look at to go up significantly. Memberships, pay for our membership in CSDA and the Kern County Special District Association. I continue to not recommend rejoining LAFCo. But I put in an additional $5,000 in membership to possibly go towards joining an effort. Upon their exit from LAFCo, 4 Southern California LAFCos are banding together and have tentative agreement to an MOU to provide legislative and other basic services to LAFCos jointly. Late last week, I was informed that Kern LAFCo has been invited to join the group with initial cost of $10,000 per year. This would be the same amount as Los Angeles, Orange, San Diego, and San Bernardino, which you might remember was one of my arguments that we didn't need to be charged the same amount as them. This would be an equal partnership among all of us. I have read through the draft MOU and have concerns, and I can share more, but at this point, I suggest I understand more about where these things are going and bring back a recommendation on this item next month. There's problems with that MOU. I sent back a list of about 20 questions, and the response I got back was, "You've clearly thought about this more than we have." And I spent 20 minutes putting those questions together. So I'm not sure I'm ready to join the new rebels or stay neutral, but I'm kind of holding my place for right now. Office expenses are increasing as we have regularly scheduled replacement of equipment or upgrades needed at this time. We have computers operating on Windows 10 and need to upgrade by the fall when Microsoft will no longer support those. That brings us to professional and specialized service. I'm asking for a small amount of additional funds. This category has historically been budgeted as significantly higher than the actual cost to account for any unforeseen legal issues and pay for studies and reports that we don't do. Special department expense, this one always tricks me. I believe that it covers the cost of the assessor, surveyor, and auditor and Board of Equalization when LAFCo is the lead agency. These costs are paid by LAFCo and then passed along to the applicant for reimbursement. The reimbursement shows up in the revenues and fees. Transportation and travel, I raise these categories a little to reflect the current cost of travel and potential for commissioners and staff to travel as necessary. The reserve is set by the commission at 10% of the budget plus any unaccrued sick and vacation time. Overall, it turns out to be a 5.4% increase in budget from the 2024-25. So I have another column 5, that looks at hiring a 5th employee. The 3 of us are part-time person plus 1 additional full-time. We have additional salary, employee benefit expense that would be expected. We also have to purchase a desk, chair, computer, and other equipment that would be included in an office expense. As this person would be working on municipal service reviews, I would expect for that employee to travel to the agency on occasion to meet with the agency face-to-face. And also getting familiar with the services and the area that they cover. Adding a 5th employee would cost 18.8% more than what was budgeted in 2024-25. It's not additional to what I'm asking now. It's comparing to last year's budget because that's how it would work. It'd be an 18.8%. My recommendation is accept the preliminary 2025-26 budget with input for final budget to be brought back at the next commission meeting. Direct staff as to the commission's choice of hiring a 5th employee.
And that 5th employee was related to the last item. Right?
Municipal service reviews.
Will you be able to do all your rounds before this final budget comes back before us?
I don't know when the city managers meet or if they would allow us to be on the agenda. You know, if they meet next week, they may already have agenda out, and I don't know that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Knox. Any public comment on the preliminary budget? Okay, so
I could give Mr. Knox a heads up. I attend those meetings. They are weekly. The budget is fluid.
Okay. Can you get me an invite?
Will do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay, seeing none. Commissioner comments or questions?
Yes,
Yeah, Commissioner Sirigosa.
thank you. 4 questions on the potential proposed fifth staff person. What would be the title? Would they be an analyst or administrative assistant? What exactly are you hiring? Or what would recommend to be hired?
It would be an analyst position.
Okay. Just curious. And then,
Somewhere below senior analyst.
right. Yeah, well, now that we're talking about the senior analyst or deputy executive officer, when you talked about Windows and software upgrades, have you included the fact that I think Bud and I chatted that the GIS software you're using is going to be it's legacy software that at some point will now no longer be updated. And I'm not sure, is there a cost to go to the upgraded, or has that already been budgeted?
That has been budgeted. In fact, that's an item I was going to talk about later. Bud is going to be going to a 3-day training up in Sacramento on transitioning to the new software. So yes, that's in the current budget.
All right. See, that was question number 2. Yeah, 2 more questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the advanced license is also in the budget.
I was going to say, there's
Yes.
advanced licenses
Yeah.
and whatnot. And I assume more than one person can use it in case you want to train the analysts, if you get that other position. Whatever.
We like to cross-train when we can, yes.
Sure.
We can't use it, 2 people can't use it at the same time.
Single license, okay. I think I'm trying to remember what I was going to say here. You and I had this discussion, and I think you were going to get back to me, so I'll just bring it to the commissions. Do we have directors, officers, and liability insurance that protects the directors and officers of Kern LAFCo?
We do. That's included in the general liability
Okay,
insurance program.
so
So you were covered.
we have D&O.
Yes.
Okay. Last question. Since we've been meeting here, and I think we've been meeting at the Crest Building for Judas, what, 3 years, 4 years? This is my second term. Time flies. But initially, we were meeting at the County Board of Supervisors, which had pros and cons. But the pro side was it was highly secured event, and I'm glad they have security there. Here, we have an interesting neighborhood, especially at night. And I've seen some interesting characters at night when we leave here, like at 7 or 7:30, whenever we get out of here. As far as I know, the Crest Building has a person security that opens up the door early in the morning, and they have a security person that comes late at night to lock the door. But there is nobody here during operating hours, security-wise. Is that correct? I already talked to somebody from Kern, and they said yes. So, okay. Therefore, the question I want to explore, and just to kind of, I want to be proactive, not reactive. Should we, because we have a public meeting setting and it's publicized, we have an open door policy. Should we have security, maybe 2 hours, when we have our monthly meeting, just to make sure at the front door there's some type of secured presence, another pair of eyes that's looking for folks who come in, and we'll be there when we close our doors and leave and disband and go back to our cars. I'm not only asking for myself, but for anybody else on the commission, and that's the question. And if anybody wants to chime in, perfect. Because this is the budget session, and we need to look at that, I believe.
Commissioner Fowler.
I'll have to say amen to that request. It is a very dicey area, and, you know, fortunately, there are men who happen to be walking out sometimes when we're walking out, but it's a kind of nervous-making feeling in this area at night. Now, we don't have 10-minute meetings anymore like we once did, but it's a concern, and it might be a concern to anybody who would like to come and, you know, view our meetings in person, and it might give a higher comfort level to them to know that there's somebody wearing a vest at the door. So I like that idea, Vince. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The reason we moved on from the county was they did not have the capability of having a Zoom portion in their facility at the time. That's why we came over here, because we could do that here.
Well, I agree. I'm not recommending we go back.
Well,
I like this facility.
But they have security there.
Correct.
Yes.
And we have Zoom now. I mean, KGov can answer that. If you are interested. Would you like me to get clarification from KGov staff?
That would be, it doesn't matter to me which place we're at. If we want to have security, we can look into paying for that here. All those options are viable.
Yeah, I just want, whatever the most secure environment is. I think if we have security here, that would solve everything. Because even if we move back to the county in after hours, I can't comment to the sheriff's presence. they leave at, I think they leave at 5, and we might have someone in the building, we might not. I'm not too familiar with the after-hours rounds of the county building.
Bud is reminding me that Rec and Park is now on the third Wednesday. So they may be taking our spot. We can check with
Sure.
county staff
When
and
we
find
have-
that out.
So, thank you. Well, just to save us the time and the effort, I think it makes sense to stay and maybe augment with security. At least you have 3 commissioners that feel that way. I'm welcome any more member comments if anyone else wants to weigh in on security aspect of the budget.
Yeah, I would want to stay here, I think, compared to the county. I like this venue better. And if, I'm all for security. If there's people that are uncomfortable, let's go for it, yeah.
Because it's just once a month, a couple hours. I think we can absorb that. Thank you.
I would make a motion if one is needed to explore getting some bids for that, bring it into the budget for action.
You have any
approval.
idea what that would cost?
I have a friend who does security, and I asked him that question. He said he'd get back to me. My suspicion is maybe per hour, somewhere between $50 and $75 an hour. I don't know.
So we're talking 2 hours, it'd be an extra 200 a meeting.
Yeah, 1 to 3 hours, depending on the docket.
I'll second the motion, Fowler.
Okay, so, from a process standpoint on the agenda, we're here to adopt the preliminary budget. So maybe, can we just incorporate it in the budget and then adopt the preliminary budget? I don't think we need a motion.
You actually, you don't adopt it because it's not the final.
I mean,
You accept
yeah, so we're accepting, but you need
and
it- but you-
providing input.
Okay, so let's incorporate that input into the
Yes.
preliminary budget, and then we'll approve the preliminary budget for final adoption later. Is
Okay.
that it?
Yes.
So we'll take that in. Yeah, so we'll take that in. Well, staff's gonna incorporate it into the preliminary budget.
I guess that would be professional services. Yes. Okay.
Any other comments on the budget?
I have a question.
I think we have a question.
Just a clarifying question. Are we deciding between proposal 1 and proposal 2? Is that the expectation for the vote?
Good question.
I'm going to get a stare. That's a good question. I can bring both of them back next time and include my report on my conversations with city and special district folks.
And then
And
both,
we can make adjustments from there.
I think that's a good way to proceed. Thank you for that. And then both will have the security provision, no matter which one we do.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other area you have concerns or?
Oh, good. Okay, so I think so
Just to, well, yeah, I'm going to not say anything because I think we've said enough on the budget issue, at least for me. Thank you.
thank you. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion on the preliminary budget with the understanding that 2 will come back.
Indicate motion.
Motion.
Kevin, second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Couch,
Yes.
Commissioner Endicott,
Aye.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben,
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passed.
Thank you. Brings us to item 9. Thank you for everyone's patience. General business, state legislative report. Mr. Knox.
There was no report presented in the agenda packet. I have a long list of bills that CSDA Legislative Committee is working on, which I sit on that committee. While there are some Brown Act and other bills that may affect our ability to operate, as of last Friday, there are no specific LAFCo-related bills. As Cal LAFCo is currently in disarray, there has not even been an omnibus bill submission For those not aware of the process, an omnibus bill is a non-controversial cleanup bill that includes clarification language to specific issues that within Cortese, Knox, Hertzberg typically. As the session continues, I will keep you informed of anything that comes up that you need to be having attention to.
Thank you. Now, Executive Officer's report.
Yes, I've already told you about Bud's training and conference coming up. I've talked about Southern California LAFCo's MOU. I have East Kern Healthcare District is a district that we're working on. It's the first district since I've been here that has requested a portion of the property tax, which was not what originally was presented to the county when they talked to the hospital. So we're kind of struggling through the process with county staff and how we're supposed to handle this request, both between the assessor's office and the CAO's office. We think we're getting closer to the procedures themselves, because it's been so long since we did it. We do them for cities all the time with a master tax agreement, but it hasn't been done in so long. Most of the staff that worked on those before are long gone, so we're working our way through that. And lastly, I have jury duty the first week in April, so yes. Well, hopefully, I'm like a really high number, so hopefully I don't get called, but I can't guarantee that.
Bodes well.
They'll call me on Friday, is what'll happen. So just so you're aware that may cut into some of my work time. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you,
Nice
Mr.
short
Knox. Thank you, Mr. Knox.
meeting.
Well, I have 9 questions. That brings us to adjournment. So we'll next scheduled meeting is April 16th. Thank you, everyone, for your participation.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.